Jefferson Parish leaders held a joint public meeting with State Fish and Wildlife as coyote sightings escalate across the metro area. And the parish held the first of two meetings scheduled for this week where they tackled residents' complaints of roaming coyotes.
The parish says it has an increase over the summer in reported coyote sightings. David Jones reports.
You guys are having coyote problems, right?
In neighborhoods,
we have to learn to coexist with wildlife in general. I mean, that's even outside of just the coyote.
And backyards.
Asking residents to change their lives, things that they've done forever.
Jefferson Parish is looking to educate its residents on what to do to keep coyotes away.
We want to learn how to mitigate these issues. Coexisting with coyotes rather than, trying to say we're going to be able to eliminate them and not have coyotes as part of our community.
The parish acknowledges with increased land development and food availability, coyote sightings are becoming more frequent.
Coyotes take out with a dog in his mouth in the woods, and that was it.
I've heard the coyotes 2 to 3 times total.
So let's talk about those normal and abnormal behaviors.
Melissa Collins with Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries told residents what they can do to scare off coyotes, like hazing, which involves yelling and raising your arms, using noisemakers, or throwing projectiles to scare them off, with the goal being to maintain coyotes' fears of humans.
Make yourself look big, wave your arms, throw things at them, stomp your feet. Don't charge them, don't chase them, because they see that as you trying to hurt them and they're going to defend themselves.
The parish is asking folks to watch your pets, secure food sources, keep your yard tidy, and remember, coyote attacks are rare. Michelle Brignac with Jefferson Protection and Animal Welfare Services says the reports the parish receives have ramped up in the past couple months.
Officers were going out from like 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning to haze in the neighborhoods where they were being sighted. And since then, we've continued when people have called.
And Brignac says the only way coyotes can be addressed is if they're reported, especially when coyotes are seen in neighborhoods or subdivisions. But some residents expressed concerns the parish is not doing enough to eliminate the threat coyotes pose.
I'd prefer not to risk my dog dying, but I'd also prefer to live my life the way I've lived it for the last 52 years.
The biggest thing stressed tonight was not to leave food unattended outside, whether you're feeding strays or your own pets. You can report coyote sightings to the parish by calling the number 504-349-5536. The next meeting is scheduled for tomorrow at 6 o'clock at the Yenny Building off Clearview. Lauren?